It's the middle of January. Chelsea continue to spend boatloads of money in the transfer window. Some big names have found new places across the top leagues, including one of the biggest here in Major League Soccer. And of course, we unpack the fallout from the weekend's massive derbies, including how Arsenal may have the league all but wrapped up. Grab your scarves. The supporter section kicks off right now. Welcome into the supporters section. I am Cole Carter, and this is episode 53 of the supporters section's podcast. Go ahead and leave a like and subscribe if you have not already, because today's episode will be a belter. I have my two good friends here with me, Stephen Crow and Brendan Pasnick. Fellas, it is good to be on the show today. How are your respective worlds of soccer right now? Brendan, I'll start with you. Feeling good, feeling happy, feeling low? Where are you at right now with your soccer teams?
Yeah, a couple different places, to be honest. My domestic home team, which is Atlanta United, our home team, doing some really weird things. I'll let Steve talk about Joseph, but I'm really sad on that end. On the European end with Aston Villa, I am enjoying life right now. Unai Emery's taking us to the moon, and we have a couple easy games coming up, so I'm hoping we can keep skyrocketing. We'll see about that. Speaking of Aston Villa, Steve got me a Christmas gift. It was an Aston Villa poster, and I bought a frame for it finally and just put it up. It's right there off frame, and it's beautiful. So thank you again, Steve.
Well, speaking of Christmas gifts, Steve, what you wearing right now? I see a little gift maybe we got going.
Oh, just a team that's 3 points off from the playoff spot in the championship. Sunderland AFC. Nice little vintage kit. Don't remember what year it was from, but Brandon got it for me for Christmas. Thank you so much. Yeah, some sport in that right now, but you know, dude, Tottenham's in the pooper. Josef Martinez is gone. I'm not in a good way right now. Until tomorrow at 3 o'clock when Tottenham beats Manchester City. I'm so excited for that game. So, you know, a lot of lows. Hopefully a high tomorrow.
Well, you're happy right now as of recording. Who knows what the outcome will actually be when the time comes for kickoff. Yeah. I'm currently sporting my Red Side of Manchester Derby. Red Side of Manchester. Brand like the United kit. And, got Cristiano Ronaldo on the back. You know, an infamous jersey, I'm sure, from that early Brentford loss when they lost, 4-0? One of Ten Hag's first games. Anyways, enough of that. We're going to jump into some transfer news, which, Brandon, you have been keeping good track of. You're going to give us the confirmed news that the people need to know about, including who I mentioned earlier. Chelsea just keep throwing money, and more money at some players. And now the young one coming all the way from Shakhtar. Brandon, who is it?
Yeah, and we have the answers for your transfers, people. This guy that Cole's talking about is Mudryk, 22 years old, left winger, signs for £88.5 million from Shakhtar. It is on an 8.5-year deal, but people, this makes him the Premier League's 5th highest ever signing. Okay, you know me, you know I like my quizzes, so I had to sprinkle this one in there because I saw a fun one. He's the 5th highest ever. You guys can go back and forth. You guys can do a team one again. Let's do a team one again. As a team, who were the top 4? This should be relatively easy.
I know Pogba's up there.
Yes.
Jack Grealish.
Yes.
Lukaku.
2 more.
It's a trick question. Lukaku is both. Now, do the order. You know the 4.
Lukaku to Chelsea, I guess last year, has to be the higher one.
Was it the
No,
most?
Jack Grealish is 1.
Yeah, 100 million.
Yeah.
And then I'll say Pogba too. He was 90, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was 93.25.
For
Pogba. Was Lukaku
For Pogba.
like? Let's see. Was
there someone above
Lukaku
that?
89 or 90 going to Chelsea?
So Lukaku's twice, remember. So it's Jack Grealish at 100, Lukaku, you guys had it, 97.5. That was to who is that? Two. That's two Chelsea, right, from Inter. Paul Pogba to Man U for 93.25. And then Lukaku from Everton to Man U for 90. Wow. How the hell is Lukaku up there twice? Why?
And managed to do nothing, both deals.
Yeah, good Lord. Anthony's right below Mudryk, by the way, so that's the top 6. But
damn.
Yeah, thanks for having fun there. Sort of weird, this Mudryk guy. I don't know if you guys have heard of him or even watched him, but he's done pretty well in the Champions League. Still really young, has a lot to prove, and that's probably why the long-term deal. But that's a lot of money. It almost seems like Chelsea is looking at what Arsenal is doing and saying, "Who's Arsenal in for?
Yeah,
that player. Okay, we'll offer double." It's really weird. I also have to give props to Arsenal on this one because they didn't get into a bidding war. With Chelsea. They're sort of like, yeah, go ahead and pay that. We have our limits. I think they offered something really close to that, actually, but I think the wages were probably over the top for him. So obviously the obvious choice is Chelsea on that. Some other couple ones.
Oh, wait, hold on. Wait, I have breaking news. Reportedly, Real Madrid are offering $40 million for Emerson Royale. Is that true? Chelsea, they might be in on him if that's true.
Oh my God.
Is that real?
Let's hope so. No.
Oh,
that's how they're operating. I hope it's real so they can get him off the books.
Speaking it into existence, I love that. Man, you finally get Wout Weghorst, 30-year-old center forward on loan from Burnley. Sort of weird, but hopefully it works for them. Leeds, they break their transfer record with a 20-year-old center forward from Hoffenheim for £35.5 million. Trying to see if there's any other big ones on here. This one's interesting. Aston Villa signed John Duran, a 19-year-old striker, for $22 million from Chicago Fire. Very interesting. Has all the supposed skills to become a top. I think a lot of big players were in for him. Don't know how he pulled it off or what that means. I'm not sure if he'll play right away, but he just got called out of, I think, U20 Columbia camp to come straight into the Villa team. So who knows? We will see on that. Jumping around quickly to the other leagues, there's been a lot of stuff in the MLS, and it's hard to cover because it's a lot of kids getting drafted from college, a lot of internal MLS stuff. But two-time MLS Cup winner Franco Escobar goes to the Houston Dynamo, maybe making them better. I know they've made a couple movements this offseason. Diamande, a.k.a. Draymond Green's doppelganger, finds his way back into the MLS and lands in Toronto. If you don't know who Diamande is, just go look on him. I think he looks exactly like Draymond Green. Yeah, Steve, any other ones you want to cover here?
Little Memphis Depay. We talked about it last episode. Confirmed signing for Atletico Madrid from Barcelona. I think like 3 to 4 million euros from Barcelona. Signing till 2028. So Barcelona are hoping that another signing away from their team doesn't come back to bite them in the butt. I hope it does. Probably won't, but I hope it does.
What about the hometowners, Steve? Some sad news out of Atlanta.
Nothing. I just got my season ticket holder gift in the mail. Yes, this is what Atlanta United sent me, a season ticket holder last year at the start of the season. It goes from having a gold-plated statue of Josef Martinez to him signing for Inter Miami, I believe on a 1-year deal, but with an option for another year after that. Really upset about that. He's going to be donning the number 17 jersey. And head of front office operations, Carlos Bocanegra, says, I'm upset that he went to an interdivision rival. So if that doesn't give you a hint of where things are at with Atlanta United, I don't know what will. So, but anyways, yeah, that's what's going on in the hometown.
Are our expectations low for this season, guys? Brandon, you specifically?
Yeah, I'm sure we'll have an MLS episode, but they're low. On paper, I think our team is good. It's pretty MLS-y, maybe upper middle MLS. But I don't believe in our manager. I don't believe in Carlos Bocanegra. Um, and now we're without the best goal scorer in MLS history. So I don't know where you go from there, to be honest. So hopefully Gareth, I think his name is, Larger Way, whatever his name is, can do some magic for the team. But
I, for one, am for signing Ronaldo Cesarenos again and him not scoring a single domestic goal. That was fun. I enjoyed seeing that a lot last year.
Hey, you can't hate on him too much. He did his job, Mister. Steve, you're kind of the guy who loves to look at the rumor mill, everything that's going on between, things that maybe aren't official yet. What is it looking like out in the rumor world?
Yes. We'll start maybe low stakes to high stakes. Nottingham Forest, they love their new signings. They're in talks right now to sign Chris Wood on loan with an option to buy from Burnley. Tottenham, Newcastle, Chris Wood. Made the transfer already. My bad. Tottenham, I'm tempted not to talk about them at all, but Pedro Porro from Sporting, go figure, Sporting's asking for a number that Tottenham does not want to pay, and that's a $45 million release clause. Correction, Euro release clause. But Spurs aren't going to pay it, so go figure. Leicester City are close to a deal for, I'm going to butcher this. Somebody
Victor
help me out here.
Christensen.
Thank you. Christensen, 20-year-old left back for 20 million euros from FC Copenhagen in the Danish league. We're going to go to West Ham. My boys West Ham are in talks to sign Harry Maguire as well as Danny Ings from Aston Villa for £15 million for Danny Ings, and then the Harry Maguire potentially being end of the season loan deal, as West Ham are struggling to stay in the Premier League right now. If the season were to end today, they're hanging out with my boys Sunderland in the Championship, and take it from Sunderland, you don't want to be there. So signing to England center back and Danny Ings, Brandon can talk to you about it. Proven goal scorer, honestly. Pretty good moves. I like it from West Ham. Talking about signings in January that can save a season, I don't think I'm too dramatic to say that these are two signings that would save West Ham seasons. No other team in that bottom three are going out and signing Harry Maguire or Danny Ings. And again, just rumors. But these are rumors with some validity to it, and this would help David Moyes and the boys out a lot.
Well, Brandon, now real quick, it's interesting that Villa just signed this young striker, John Duran, for $22 million from Chicago Fire. Then they'd be looking to move on from Danny Ings already. Are they that confident this kid could be the next striker for Villa?
I would hope they wouldn't do that, but I believe in Unai Emery. If that's what he wants, I'm for it. But personally, no, I wouldn't be for that. Hold on to Danny Ings until the rest of the season. I don't know what his contract situation is like, but move him on in the summer if you feel like it's time. The summer, again, is another opportunity to bring in more players, different players, whatever the scouting department has found. And I think that'd be the time to sign Danny Ings. We're looking up the table, I think, hopefully the rest of the season, and gonna start climbing here soon, knock on wood. So losing Danny Ings in January would not be the best move, in my opinion. But if West Ham do get Harry Maguire and Danny Ings, they will be far from relegation, I believe.
Okay, well, you heard it from the Villa guy right here. Well, we had match week 20 in the Premier League this past weekend. The biggest game, arguably, Manchester United versus Manchester City, red versus blue. And this one was action-packed. It had everything you'd want from a derby, including late winners, big moments that may be a little controversial. I know for sure we're going to dive into that. But Brandon, what was the breakdown on this one between both Manchester teams?
Yeah, Man City was playing very loosely, I felt like, the first 45 minutes. Missed passes, misplaced passes, not penetrating very well, allowing Man U to counter freely. It was really, really weird. But yeah, I think Manchester United had a couple chances, and they, like I said, they looked really, really good on the counter. You could tell that they've been practicing it all week. They were countering very quickly and playing directly through to Rashford, which is an amazing outlet. I mean, Rashford is very quick and just had acres of space to run into. So that was working for them really well in the first half. Rashford did have 2 relatively big chances in that first half, didn't put them away. And I had a feeling they might be ruining those come the second half.
Well, you were right, weren't you? Because in the 60th minute, we get Jack Grealish. He gets subbed on and has that immediate impact off of Kevin De Bruyne cross. Jack uses his big old head, puts it in the back of the goal, actually gets City up early. Or not early, but, early in the second half. And they were looking the better team. They were looking like they were going to dominate the game with their possession like they normally do. And then that 79th minute goal comes by Bruno Fernandes. And a little bit of interference potentially from Marcus Rashford. But Brandon, you read the rule, and we can kind of make our own opinions off of this one.
Yeah, I'll save my opinion until after I read the rule. But here is the rule by the FA on an offside offense. A lot of the announcers and stuff, I don't know where they were getting their ideas from. But I'll let you guys decide. Offside offense. A player in an offside position at the moment the ball is played or touched by a teammate is only penalized on becoming involved in the act of play by interfering with play, by playing or touching a ball passed or touched by a teammate, interfering with an opponent by preventing an opponent from playing or being able to play the ball by clearly obstructing the opponent's line of vision or challenging an opponent for the ball, or clearly attempting to play the ball, which is close when this action impacts on an opponent, or making an obvious action which clearly impacts on the ability of an opponent to play the ball, or gaining an advantage by playing the ball or interfering with an opponent when it has rebounded or been deflected off the goalpost or crossbar an opponent, been deliberately saved by any opponent. They go on to give an example. I'm trying to find the example real quick because it's so funny. Let me see. Yes, here it is. In situations where, and this is the example they give, a player moving from or standing in an offside position is in the way of an opponent and interferes with the movement of the opponent towards the ball, this is an offside offense if it impacts on the ability of the opponent to play or challenge for the ball. If the player moves into the way of an opponent and impedes the opponent's progress, the offense should be penalized under Law 12. Okay, what do you take from all that? There was a lot of bullet points in there, so sorry for taking so long, but I feel like it's important to read the full rule because the full rule was not being read on social media and on the NBCSN broadcast that I was watching, which I was like baffled by. So after that, Cole, what do you think?
I mean, it just feels like every other offside call would have been made in that moment except this one. It just feels like it is the definition of the law. Like he's impeding his opponents, he's making a play on the ball, and I don't see how it's not offside. He's obviously clearly offside as far as his positioning. It's not a matter of, inches and whatever have it. It's literally he is making a challenge on the ball, and then Bruno Fernandes comes in, swoops it, and scores a goal. I think by those rules that you just read, to me, that is an offside. The goal should be disallowed, and it should stay 1-0 at that point to City's favor. But that's just me. I just feel like it really isn't that controversial if you're a referee because it's clearly laid out in front of you that he is making challenge at the ball. And that was always what the intention was for United at that point. So, yeah, no goal.
Steve?
Here's the thing. I bet money on Manchester United to win the game. Therefore, completely on sides. I don't know what y'all are... No, this was blatant offsides. It was obvious. Everyone was focusing on Rashford. He didn't touch it. But it's almost like I think of me when I used to annoy my older brothers of just like, I'm not touching you. I'm not touching you, but I was affecting their mental health at that early age. And
Good
so
illustration.
this is what I think of when it comes to this. It's Rashford half a centimeter from the ball. Like, I'm not touching it. You're shielding it. There's defenders don't know. Again, the flag doesn't go up automatically. So, by all matter of like the law of how offsides works, it's game on. You know, they might have an inkling in the back of their head. They're thinking Rashford's offsides or whatever it is, but all the attention's on Rashford. And then the ball gets slammed home by Bruno. So yeah, it's offside. It's bad too because these are top two. I mean, these guys are tied on points right now, so this is a bad look. Manchester United will want to say, yeah, well, you know, whatever. But you know, these are the kinds of games that can decide, you know, final placings, finishings in the Premier League. So bad call.
Yeah, bad call. And it ultimately cost City because then 3 minutes later, Man U on another counter, which is beautifully done, Garnacho finds Rashford, and it's an easy tap in. That puts them up 2-1, and Rashford's the hero on the day by not scoring the first one and then getting the second to help United win the game. So getting those important 3 points, edging up closer to the top of the league. But yeah, this one definitely did not like any controversy. But City leaving with more questions than they walked in with potentially too. But yeah, we'll get that to a little bit as we kind of get the previews. But yeah, Man City, it's going to be a tough go at it as the weeks come along. Points are becoming more and more important. But I'll quickly leave this thought with you as after the game, Pep Guardiola said that, you know, we don't care about the Premier League. We don't care about losing the Carabao Cup. We've won those things multiple times. An interesting thought from your manager of how do you get the guys motivated when he's saying that. I guess it's Champions League all or nothing right now. I'm sure we can get into that a little bit. But the other major game on the weekend was Tottenham versus Arsenal at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. This one ended. It was an ugly one for Tottenham. Arsenal looked like the number 1 team in the league for sure, and Tottenham looked like a bare bones version of themselves. The attack has not been clicking when it matters most, and now they've lost both matches against Arsenal this season and have lost 5 of their last 9 in the Premier League. This one got started out early when Hugo Lloris once again falls short of his skill set as a keeper, as Bukayo Saka puts the ball right to Tottenham skipper's chest, and as he's kind of falling down, put this wonderful spin right into the back of the net for an own goal to give the Gunners an early lead, which I think most of us have seen it. If you haven't, go look it up real quick. It takes a second to notice that really, I think Hugo Lloris should have done better. But Steven, as fellow Tottenham fans, is it time to start looking for a long-term replacement for Hugo Lloris after we've seen some major gaps this season? He's the guy that leads to the most goals in the Premier League this season as far as individual results. What are your thoughts on a replacement for Hugo Lloris?
I mean, I think the obvious answer is yes. However, I think that this is honestly the least bit of our problems at Spurs. And so I don't want to focus too much on Hugo. Yes, we do need a new replacement at keeper. I think even negotiating his last deal, there's a question of how long do we sign him for? How much is this extension going to be? And I believe it's just through this next season coming up, and then the contract runs out. So I would not be surprised if we move him to France this summer to go be in Ligue 1, where he's from. Yeah, it's tough for Hugo, and you hate to see it, like a club legend like Hugo Lloris just struggle in his last couple seasons, and this is just what has happened. So it's unfortunate, but I think it's a culmination of just the way things are at Spurs. It's just a glaring sign of like, yeah, things are bad. Look at this Lloris mistake. Like, it's kind of like the affirmation that you need as a front office to make some moves. Yeah, maybe the goalkeeper's the first one you make, but I honestly wouldn't mind some other signings before then over the goalkeeper position. Like many keepers say, it's a lot different being the last man of defense. And, you know, De Gea goes from getting the balls in between his legs one game to making absolutely insane saves to the next game. They're not at the same pedigree right now, Hugo and De Gea, but short answer, yes. We need to find a new goalkeeper replacement. But I'm not in for a big money signing, honestly, this summer to replace him if it's not thought out and everything like that. There's keepers that look great and everything, but I don't know, dude. I don't know. I'm just sad. I'm just sad. Like I said at the start of the podcast, when I watch Tottenham, my mood decreases, and it's just sad.
I totally get it. That's a very fair observation, and I don't think it's in our most immediate need, as you mentioned. It's just not. It's not there. Hugo obviously just led France to a World Cup final. They obviously fell short, but he has it in him to still be a world-class keeper, I think. It's just you get in these moments as a keeper where it's just, what if the defense did more to close off Saka and not let him get to the end line? He's being put in those situations. How do you react so quickly? There's a slight deflection. Like, there's so many different things to factor in, and he's got it wrong. Unfortunately, it was in the game that mattered the most.
I don't even think he's in. I mean, I'm curious on your take on this, both of you, Cole and Brandon, but I don't even think he's in Tottenham's top 3 needs, like that keeper position. I would rather sign like 3 or 4 other position players before goalkeeper.
Cole? Oh, yeah, no, absolutely. I think it's not even top 5. Like, I would start looking at other places first. Like, I feel bad for Emerson Royale. He's been having to be play out of position all season. That's your number 1 priority right now, is get a right wing back that fits Conte's system. That's number 1. I mean, you bought Jed Spence, you're not doing anything with him. Maybe it's because he's too young. I don't know. Go ahead, get the Poro guy from Sporting, bring him in for 45 million, 30 million, whatever it is. That's your number 1 priority. Your second priority is to find a creative midfielder somehow to link up play in between Harry Kane and the back 5, because it's not working. Like, he's not getting the ball. He's not getting enough touches, which is making him drop back even more, which then doesn't allow him to get the balls in the crosses like from Perisic, or it's just not working right now. We're not connecting. We got lucky against Palace scoring 4 goals, but we just look horrendous against Arsenal. There's no link-up play, and it's not to the fault of any players, just that they're just not built for the system, and that's just not helping either that Bentancur has been out. So right wing back, creative midfielder, much like the one we see at Arsenal, like Odegaard, who creates and scores goals out of nothing.
Dude,
that's who I would have loved to have had 3 years ago. That's a guy you definitely missed on. Christian Eriksen did the same thing at Man United. Maybe a homecoming would have been sweet, especially on a free, but it's just, again, that's what you want, is guys like Odegaard and Eriksen to be on your side, so you can deliver balls to Harry Kane, let him score goals like we know he can. But Brandon, what about you?
I don't know. I guess I don't watch enough Tottenham to know. I know, like, the right back position is glaringly obvious that is number 1. Like, no more Emerson Royale. Doherty's been okay from what I've seen, but I think he's more of like a Swiss Army knife. I feel like you can play him wherever, wherever need be. Yeah. I mean, I think Tottenham's squad's in a good place. It's not a great place. Mm-hmm. I do think, though, Hugo Lloris is starting to show like he's not up to it. I would say it is a top 5, not top 3 for Tottenham probably, but definitely top 5. Like, it's probably time to start looking if a good opportunity comes up. Not January, but this summer, it might be a good time to move things on.
Yeah, that's a fair assessment of it. And like I said a second ago, Odegaard was the one that scored the second goal for Arsenal, which helped them to finish the game off. And Arsenal, then they maintain their lead atop the Premier League and don't currently look as though they are vulnerable to slip-ups. They will be tested with a big match against Man United in a couple of days. But the question I have here that I want to land on is, at this point, in the middle of January, is the league done and over with? Arsenal, Premier League champions, Brandon. Is this really the reality we're going to see play out?
It's a very real reality. I also want to say we're only 19 games in. Some people have games in hand and whatnot. So, yeah, we're about halfway in now. We are halfway. So the table is really taking shape. But also at the same time, it's not. I think this year is so weird. But the way Arsenal are looking, I haven't seen a team play like this in a while. Just like the consistency and the high quality, it's phenomenal. It really is. And it's really hard to see anybody catching them. it's hard to see them dropping points. Like you put them up against anybody and you say, don't know where they're going to drop. Like the drops are going to come from the top 5, probably top 6, if at all. So, like, I think those are the only chances for Arsenal to really drop points, which really means Man City has to beat them both times if Man City wants a chance at the title. Man U's already beaten them once. I know we're going to get into it. They play them this weekend. Massive, massive game. And yeah, you don't hope for any injuries, but if Arsenal get bit by an injury bug, that could really, really change things as well. So I don't want to say it's tied up, obviously, but man, it is well in the hands of the Gooners. Maybe one hand on the trophy, a pinky, something like that.
Steven, are you wrapping the bow of a Premier League title for Arsenal?
I am not. And I think a part of it is watching Man United lose today, getting asked about Casemiro missing the game against Arsenal off of a red card suspension. Ten Hag said we beat them once without Casemiro. We can do it again. And United beat Arsenal. Huge game. They got to play Manchester City twice. They got to play Newcastle, who they drew last time. And they got to play a good Fulham team. There's a lot more this season that's to come. And not to mention the Chelseas and the Liverpools that they still have to play. So I think really in reality, if Arsenal lose, which is a lot of onus, again, this huge game going on this weekend. If Arsenal lose against Manchester United, Man U's on 42, Arsenal's on 47, that's 5 points. Like, you just don't know. You just don't know. And it'd be a fool's bet to make end of the season predictions right now when we already said this is going to be the most wild season in Premier League since I've been following. So I'm not tying it up yet. The Tottenham fan in me is saying hell no. The realist in me is saying maybe. So I'm gonna say it's gonna meet in the middle. I'm just gonna say not yet.
Yeah, we've been high on Arsenal all year, and we've seen it for a long time. We even kind of mentioned a little bit at the end of last season. We knew Tottenham came out top. Then we said Arsenal's gonna be looking pretty good under Arteta, and it's been proven right so far. But a lot of people, if they were betting, they would have said that Liverpool would have been title contenders this season. But they have slipped up once again, losing 3-0 to Brighton, Brandon. What's going on in Liverpool, and what happened in this match?
I honestly, I didn't watch it. I wish I did, just to see Liverpool capitulate. But I did watch the highlights, and Liverpool were just so bad. They were so bad. Again, going back to their defense, it looks nothing like it used to. Nothing at all. Matt Tipp definitely has a game to forget. He rarely makes mistakes, but I think it's starting to come to his game now more and more. But yeah, Mitoma, who we mentioned past 2 weeks, by the way, has another assist this week. I forget who scored the goal, but
it was March.
Mitoma was, Solly March. Mitoma's so good, people. He is so good, especially for Brighton. So yeah, and then who else? Did March score the second goal?
He had 2 goals.
The second goal was a beaut.
It was gorgeous. Yeah, with his left foot from the left, like right inside the box, like left corner almost. I don't know how Allison didn't save it, but it must have been just that perfect that it went in. And then I don't know how the hell Danny Welbeck is still playing at this level, but Danny Welbeck scores an amazing goal. There's a throw in to him, I think, something like that.
Yeah.
He flicks it over a defender and puts it right past Allison. I was like, what are we watching? Are we watching like a Premier League team versus a second division team or a third division team? Like, what are we watching right now? Brighton was smacking them. That's really all I had to say. That was probably incoherent, but Brighton look amazing, as they have done all season, and Liverpool look inconsistent and bad.
Yeah, Trent Alexander-Arnold, my guy, just walking places, not even trying to play defense.
God, I saw that video. Steve, did you see that video?
Yeah, I did. To be
Oh
fair,
my
Trent
gosh.
had a save off the line in like the first 5 minutes of the game that I don't think the shot was on target, but it might have been. But yeah, it looked bad. I did want to play a fun fact thing, as Brandon would do, quiz time or
Oh,
whatever,
nice.
Oh wow.
about Karuma Matoma, this amazing left winger for Brighton. Fun fact about Matoma, he rejected a pro contract in 2016 from the Japanese Pro League to go study at university in Tokyo, where he literally studied 1v1 dribbling, coaching, and sports medicine. As he says, also, I learned, quote, I learned a lot of things. He then signed in 2019, 3 years later, for Kawasaki Frontale, where he made Japanese League Team of the Season and won the title. Oh, and what does he do this past World Cup? Scores 2 goals to send Japan to the World Cup against Australia, describing it as the biggest moment of his career so far, and then is an instrumental part in taking down Spain in the World Cup in Qatar with an assist. This guy literally turned down playing the game at a professional level to go study the game to be better at the professional level. Absolutely wild. Talk of maybe the next Brighton sell in the summer. Honestly, like real quick, Brighton's selling players out the wazoo and still being in the position in which they are. Basuma to Tottenham. Trossard about to leave soon. Cucurella. There's others that I'm forgetting right now.
McAllister's probably going this summer.
Yeah, it's absolutely insane. You could even say transfer of their coach, getting paid to let go of their coach. Like this team is amazing, and it's so fun to watch. Matoma just using that study from University in Tokyo just to dismantle Matip and Trent Alexander-Arnold. It was, and it's fun, to see Japanese players in the Premier League. There's not a lot of Japanese Premier League players that are playing at an elite level, and it's so awesome to see just a transition from the World Cup. These are the things that we're talking about back in the World Cup episodes of guy having a good World Cup, coming in off of it, and just the form has just continued, and it's just such an awesome story. So, a couple fun facts for you about Matoma. Mr. Matoma, I might buy his jersey, honestly.
Yeah, that'd be fun. That'd be fun.
Yes, he's class. I come to
I
Tottenham.
love that. Oh, I mean, shoot, at this point. Yeah, Brighton, they're flying high this season, and even people just saying they love the new manager more than having Graham Potter there. They're in a league of their own, it just seems. Like, their scouting team is world class. They're out playing. I mean, Man City does well. Arsenal does well with their academies and stuff, but Brighton really, they do turn it up a notch when they're scouting these players and getting them up to Premier League level. Pretty remarkable, especially their position right now in the table. But on the flip side of this matchup that we had, Liverpool are just continuing to slide to levels that they had not seen in years. Jurgen Klopp. Is the pressure on him? Is it too early to smash the Liverpool panic button, guys? It's looking rough. It's looking like it's going to be a horrible end to their season. But like you said, Brandon, it's the midway point. Is it too early to smash the Liverpool panic button?
No, and I think we've said this in previous podcasts. I mean, they've looked bad and inconsistent, and not like in previous years where they sort of turn it around and like still get results. I still think they can get results when they're not playing well. This is still a really good team on paper, but they are not putting it together this year. It's definitely panic. As far as Klopp's job goes, I think he's already said like, "I'll be here until they don't want me," basically. So that answers that. But if you're a Liverpool fan, you probably say, well, we've done it the past 3 seasons. We've looked shaky the first half and come alive in the second and go on a run. What's different this year? Some people are coming back off of injury. We're going to get a consistent lineup week in, week out. And I also think the Champions League makes them come alive in a weird way. So that'll be coming back in February. So definitely panic button. Definitely. But what does that really mean? Does that mean not top 2 or not top 3? They probably won't make top 4, if we're being honest. I think there's 5 or 6 better teams than them. So, yeah, If that's what we mean by panic, yeah, smash the panic button. You should have been on the panic boat months ago. So,
It's too early.
No, it's definitely panic time, and I want to make the distinction right now because Chelsea's level with them on points, right? And I think verbiage of these two clubs is really important. Of Chelsea has talked about keeping Graham Potter, long-term hire, building something, coach, whatever. Chelsea's probably gonna have a fire sale this summer. Liverpool is different, and they don't have like trillions of dollars to spend, and I think they have a lot of areas of need. And you have the Mo Salahs, you have the Cody Gakpo, new signing. The Darwin Núñez has not turned out the way you need it to right now. And you're still starting James Milner in important games, and you're playing Harvey Elliott in whatever position that he can play, honestly, to help your team out. And they're lucky that he's as good as he is. Honestly, like this is a guy that was playing on the in the youth throwaway games a season and a half ago. And if Liverpool isn't ready to pony up on money, especially this summer, I think they're going to start being on the outside looking in. I think this is, again, Chelsea has the money to spend. Tottenham, I think Tottenham could beat Liverpool off the pitch right now, to be honest. Our starting 11 versus theirs. It's just, Trent, that's a guy that they were all in on. This guy has looked like a shadow. That's an issue. He might not be on Liverpool at start of next season. That's a really real thing. How this season plays out is super vital for Liverpool, and I think the future of the club. Yeah, they don't look good. They won against Wolves today in the FA Cup, so we'll see if that does anything. But if they go get battered by a Chelsea this weekend, which I don't think they will, but I don't know. They just got battered by Brighton, so it's again, Brighton's above Chelsea and Liverpool, what we've been talking about, but still, I don't know. For some reason, I got this feeling about Liverpool that the good times have come, the Premier League title, the Champions League title, and they might be starting to go away a little bit outside of the top four, absolutely. And then some. The Newcastles are in town, Chelsea's going to spend money next year. I'm not worried about Chelsea's position next year. And we can go in depth about it later, but I think for some reason I got this feeling that there's this huge storm getting ready to hit Liverpool if they don't figure it out. Honestly, if they lose Klopp, if they fire, if they have to make a move or whatever it is and get Klopp out of there, I don't know. That's how that's how I feel about the club. And results are results, and how much do you stay with? And Klopp's not on the hot seat, but at the same time, Liverpool's in 9th place right now. And if they lose against Chelsea, Villa could be level on points to them at the end of the. No disrespect to Villa, but the Villa's in 11th. If you would have talked to a Liverpool fan about Liverpool being potentially down at 10 or 11, the bottom half of the Premier League table.
Halfway through the season, too.
Halfway through the season.
That's bad.
And not really signs of things. I don't know. I think I'm smashing it, both hands. I don't know. I got a feeling. So they better get the ship right. Klopp's gone. Nucleus is gone. Liverpool's in trouble. I don't think it's anytime soon, though. Klopp ain't gone. Let me just say that. But anyways.
Yeah, it's looking dreary. The club is also up for sale, potentially, to new buyers. So there could be an injection of money with the right owners if all that falls through. So, yeah, it's an interesting time to be a Liverpool fan. We'll see what happens next, if Klopp sticks around at the end of the year and the years to come, or if there are some changes made at the top of the club. All that is remain to be seen, but they are still, like you said, right there at the middle of the table, even potentially able to fall to the bottom half next game. Well, Newcastle, they are in the top 4. They went up against top 6 club, Fulham. They had the 1-0 win over Fulham. Alexander Isak in his first game back leads them to scoring the game winner in the 89th minute. Fulham fans have to be sad about that one. Newcastle at the time stayed in 3rd, level on points with Man United, but they had the goal differential of 14, Newcastle does. And Fulham, who just got promoted this year, don't forget this. They are fully deserving where they are currently in sixth. Played a great game. Marco Silva, the former Everton manager, has been doing something remarkable with Fulham, and we'll talk about them in a second of who they're going up against next. Brandon, Villa, they played Leeds to a 2-1 result. You feeling good about Unai Emery so far and what they did against Leeds?
Yeah, I do. Funny enough, our only loss since he's come in the league was to Liverpool. It was 3-1. I don't think the score necessarily does the game justice, but he just knows how to get results. And it's been such a short period of time that he's been with the club. I'm really, really loving Unai Emery. I don't know if we're a top 8 team quite yet, maybe, but our coach definitely is. And I think the coach can work wonders in a football club. As far as this game goes, though, I think Leeds probably played the better game overall. But at the end of the day, putting it simply, Villa took their chances and Leeds didn't. But I do want to halt real quick and give a spew, because Leeds fans, come on in. I want to have like dim lights or something. Let me dim the lights. Leeds fans, come on in, listen. Stop calling for Jesse Marsch to be fired, please. I see it all the time on Twitter, even though Twitter's not a great place to to maybe judge what's going on. But please stop calling for him to be fired. You have rocks for brains. Leeds currently has 3 categories of players, and I'll put it simply to you. Championship players, like I've said before. 2, talented youth that is inconsistent. That's your Brendan Aronson, that Nanto kid that plays on the wing who looked awful against Villa but came up with an assist. And then 3, mid-table talent. You have some pretty good players like Tyler Adams, Ilian Melier. That's probably it. Also, if it weren't for Marsch getting the most out of Rodrigo and making him play out of his absolute skin this year and scoring the goals that he has, Leeds would be way worse off. You look better right now than you did under Bielsa. Stop calling for Jesse Marsch to be sacked, please. Where you're supposed to be for a reason. Also, none of your players would get into Villa's squad, and look where Villa is, mid-table. So let's have a rain check right now, okay? Let's have a rain check. Okay, I'm off. I'm off the soapbox.
Woo! Wow.
That's a clip right there. Absolutely.
Oh my God. Well, big
amazing.
Jesse Marsch fan over here. Wow, Brandon Payson putting himself on the
Not
soapbox.
even. I'm just tired of seeing it. I'm just tired of seeing all the Leeds fans go at him. It's like, he's doing a great job. Like, come on.
No,
Like, what do
you're
you expect from your team? What do you expect? I don't know.
Yeah, no, they definitely
Rodrigo
they're out of
currently
touch with reality.
5th on the Golden Boot race right now. Rodrigo from Leeds, just like everybody predicted.
Yeah,
Exactly. You think that's Rodrigo? No. No.
People
Sorry.
are out of touch. Well, we're going to get to the preview section of the supporter section. This is where we look to the next fixtures in the game week 21. This one is going to be first from Man City and Tottenham. This is a Thursday game. Both teams right now are desperate for 3 points on the day. If City want to keep their title hopes alive, and if Tottenham want to keep their grip on a top 4 spot and the Champions League, both teams will be vying for 3 points. Spurs, they pulled a double on them last year, winning 3-2 away and 1-0 at home. And since 2017, Manchester City have 5 wins. Both teams have drawn each other twice, and Tottenham has 4 wins. So this is actually a really great matchup to keep an eye on. Historically, the most recent history has been competitive. Some awesome games, including the classic matchup between these 2 teams in the 2019 Champions League quarterfinals, which that one came down to inches, if everyone remembers that well.
Not a handball.
Not a handball.
Not a handball.
From Fernando Llorente. Famously, when an instant classic. Just awesome to watch that one. But we are here today in 2023 looking at 2 different teams. I mean, you talk about managers and the players that are right now in the positions they're in. This one is interesting because we have a lot of talk between the 2 teams over different topics involving Spurs and Conte, of if his time at Tottenham's coming to a close, the the more dramatic side of people saying that. And then also people talking about Erling Haaland, who obviously got off to a flying start to his Premier League career, scoring more goals than anyone else at the start of the season. But people talking recently about having to get Erling Haaland involved in Man City's play is actually restricting to what they normally have done in the past. Obviously, they've won 2 straight Premier League titles. But I want to know, are either of these issues involving Antonio Conte's time at Tottenham and now Erling Haaland's involvement at Man City, are these issues being blown out of proportion? Are we really nitpicking at what's going on with these two clubs? Steven, I'll start with you and Tottenham. Are things getting blown out of proportion with his time at Tottenham, and is it really coming close to an end?
I'm the cynical guy, but I'm going to say yeah. I'm not a big fan of how Conte is kind of complaining about things. It's kind of vintage Conte. You know that when you sign up for him to be your coach. So does it bother me? It does, but I think it's just all a ploy in a game. It's kind of the Jose tactics or whatever, and I like Jose. So, yeah, this team has struggled with some injuries. They've looked very, very poor, though, in the first half of every game. Like, that's the side of me that's so hard to shake with this Tottenham team. Like, it's coaching. Like, it's not signings. It's not anything else. It's coaching. Why we look so poor in the first half. So if there's any silver lining, it's that Tottenham has owned Manchester City the past few years. Did the double on them last season, and then took a draw and a win over them the season prior. So I got faith, honestly. Conte, I think, is going to switch it up. Manchester City, I think, are going to do the same thing. I think it's going to be a very entertaining game. These teams always play each other close, unless when they don't, and Manchester City wins 3-0. But that was a few years ago. We're going to talk about that. But yeah, I think it's both yes and no as far as the out of proportion. Back to your question. Yeah, ask me after these 2 games on the midweek and the weekend, and I'll answer you next week. But Tottenham beats Manchester City, the whole narrative's changing, right? So I'll pump the brakes a little bit on doom and gloom. Conte out. I still like him as the coach.
Okay, very good. Brandon, are the keyboard warriors right and the pundits right when they talk about Erling Haaland being constrictive to Manchester City's play? Is it really him that is the problem to their recent results?
No, it's a joke. It's laughable. You're not going to blame a guy who's going to score you 40 goals this season and probably break the Premier League goal scoring record as to why Man City is playing so poorly. Honestly, though, it's definitely Pep's issue. Pep is the one that's choosing everything. He has other options on the bench to play at striker. He doesn't have to play Haaland necessarily if he's seeing something tactically that he wants to do. So no, I don't think the issue's with Haaland. I think it's more with Pep. But even in that case, I think it's a very small issue because Man City is still very good and still plays at a very high level. So, yeah.
Okay, fair enough. I like the talk from both of you guys. I'm really excited to watch this one. Also very nervous to watch this one because, like you said, Steve, Tottenham needs a result, and Manchester City, they are vying to stay in that title race. So hopefully this one's a good one. We'll get to the predictions maybe a little bit longer in the episode. I'll let you know what I'm thinking about it. Liverpool and Chelsea, they take on each other, 2 mid-level teams as they stand. Underachieving is definitely the term. Their last 2 meetings in the Premier League were draws, and since 2016, Liverpool have 5 wins. They both have drawn 6, and Chelsea only have 2 wins to their record. Graham Potter will have his work cut out for him if he wants to beat them this week. And Liverpool beat them in penalties in 2 finals last year, if you don't forget that. Liverpool, they came off their embarrassing loss to Brighton. Chelsea having come off a hard-fought win against Palace. Brandon, who is this game more important for? Is it red or blue, Liverpool or Chelsea?
Ooh, probably Chelsea, I'd say. I think if they can get the ball rolling, again, like we said, they're very Stealing Steve's quote again, they're a very good bad team right now. And if they can start putting some things together, especially with their injuries, that'll give them some encouragement. If they can get a result against Liverpool with where they're at right now, that would be amazing. And then you have the whole second half of the season to sort of catch up, try to get into top four. I think it's a big game for Chelsea.
Okay, Steve?
Yeah, I'll go the opposite side of my doom and gloom of Liverpool, but I mean it's you're splitting hairs with the question, honestly. Like both these teams need to win. But that's why it's gonna be a great game. Chelsea need it, Todd Bowley needs it, and Liverpool needs it. I'm sure Jurgen Klopp is tired of the British media, so flip a coin.
We say that's probably going to be a draw. So
Yeah, the odds are it'll be a draw. That is how the math checks out. I think arguably the game that's going to be most important, especially based off the table, is going to be this Arsenal versus Man United matchup. Arsenal conveniently have only had one loss this season, and it came against Manchester United. Man United, they just drew against Crystal Palace, which could prove to be a major result in Man United's title hopes, which is crazy even out of that sentence. But Olise, he got a free kick very, very late in that one that could pull a lot of weight in the title race for both clubs. Obviously, in the opposite direction for United, if they could have got those 3 points but had them stolen away. Another pivotal thing that happened in that Palace match was Casemiro reached his limit of yellow cards, which now means he's suspended for the big game. Like you said earlier, Stephen, Ten Hag said we did it once without him. Why can we not do it again a second time? Since 2015, this one's been 5 wins for United, 5 draws, and 6 wins for the Gunners. So, again, pretty even. Odds could go any way. But this season feels like two giants are kind of waking up, rising up back off the ground. That's going to be a huge point in the run for the title race and who could potentially be the Premier League champion in 2023. I want to see real quick, Brandon, if you could pick one team to actually win the game, who would you come out with on this one?
Ooh, I don't know, man. I think this might be a draw, a very, very exciting draw. Best game on the weekend, the most important game in the weekend. Yeah, I'll say 2-2 draw. It's at Arsenal, so they might have the upper hand, but I want it to be a good title race, so 2-2 draw.
Steve?
Arsenal at home, I think, does a lot for this club in this game. So, yeah, I mean, Arsenal's number one in the league for a reason. I know they lost to United the last go around, but guess what? That's their only loss of the entire season. And yeah, maybe if United won today in some nice fashion, but no Casemiro, midweek game, having to play on the weekend, so we'll see. But I'm gonna go for Arsenal. Probably, I'll go for like a 3-1. I think they're gonna get their goal scoring prowess on this weekend.
Okay, that's a big one. The next game, Tottenham also plays another game on the weekend. They play Fulham, who are 6th. I'll be quick on this one. Tottenham have 33 points. Fulham have 31. So this is really, really important for those Champions League spots. But as we mentioned earlier, this Fulham team is not a Fulham team of the past. This has completely been a redone team. They've been playing good football. They've been scoring a lot of goals, especially Mitrovic. So again, giving that credit to Marco Silva, the credit where it's due. But Steve, quick question for you. Is it time for Sonny to finally grab some pine and make way for Richarlison? Is it time for him to start playing some football in the starting 11?
Yes. Please, for the love of God, yes. I love Heung-min Son. I'm not worried about him, but the facts are the facts. Besides a hat trick against Leicester, he's been poor the whole season, honestly. No one can argue with me because I know I'm right. When you have those facts in front of you, and when you have the starting striker for Brazil, it's a no-brainer. Kulusevski's in the top 5 in the Premier League for assists, so you're starting him on the right wing, and you're putting Richarlison on the left wing, and you are grabbing it's not a gimme. That's the thing, too. It's not a gimme 3 points, but you need to win this game against Fulham. If you lose this game against Fulham and lose against Manchester City, it's yikes time for Tottenham. So, sounds crazy. Bench the Golden Boot winner last year with 23 goals. And start with Richarlison. And, sub Heung-min Son on. That's how you get a guy back in form. But take the pressure off. Let Richarlison have it. He's shown so much passion and grit and just desire since playing for Tottenham. So put him on the left wing in a game that's no doubt going to be pretty physical.
You're absolutely right. Yeah, you're going on the opposite end of where I want to be. Tottenham, if they can get 4 points from the week, that'll be massive for them. Just edging a little bit closer to that 4 spot with Newcastle. I think Newcastle will get 3 points against Crystal Palace. But again, anything can happen. But 4 points would be massive for them. And keep those conversations away from any sacking of managers or any moves that might need to be made.
Please.
But speaking of sacking, do we have a true El Sackico on our hands? We'll see, because West Ham and Everton, 18th and 19th position teams, are going up against each other. They're both sitting on 15 points and only separated by 1 goal in the goal differential category. The last 2 results were 1-0 in favor of Everton and 2-1 in favor of the Hammers. Since 2015, this one, again, pretty even. 6 wins for West Ham, 7 wins for Everton, and 3 draws between the 2 clubs. But guys, I just mentioned that Frank Lampard and David Moyes have both just been on the hottest of hot seats this season, underperforming all expectations. It's so frustrating because these 2 clubs should be in way better standing than they are. But if there was a guy that's going to have his time ended at his club, who would it be after going in this matchup? Who has the upper hand to take out the other, Brandon?
I think David Moyes has the upper hand. His team is clearly underperforming by a long shot. I think he has the upper hand to win this game. I think they're also favored in the bookies, so take that, do with that what you will. But yeah, Lampard has to win this game, I think, at least tie. Is it at Everton? It's away, so that sort of helps him. It's not in front of his home crowd, but I think he has to win or he's gone, and Sean Dyche is waiting there on the wing to take over this crappy Everton team and lead them to safety. Yeah.
Where's Sean Dyche podcast? Can we just talk about that?
I would love to have him on. He's a funny guy.
Yeah. We love Sean.
Steve, who's out on this one?
Dude, yeah, I think... Dude, I don't know. If Everton lose, you gotta fire Lampard, dude. You have to. If they lose in like ugly fashion, but again, if they lose in a dramatic last-minute goal, it's all the semantics come into it. What's the manager market? Who can you get? I'm sure these conversations are already being had over the phone. So it's just a matter of the front office if they like the guy over Frank. Frank has done this last year. That's the only positive for Everton right now, keeping him in the position. I think I said this on the past episode of the episode before of like, he's done it before, so maybe he could do it again. But he doesn't have Richarlison, so maybe not. Yeah, if I'm deciding between the 2 managers, I'm sacking Frank.
Could relegation be the best thing for this club, Brandon? Is relegation really what this club needs to light the fire under their butts to get back into some kind of relevance again?
I think there's a famous fact that people point at in the English media that Everton has never been relegated from the top tier of English football. They're the longest standing English club. I don't know if that's a jinx or what, but yes, I think it could be. I wonder if their owner, because that's really what it comes down to. Their board and their owner is what the fans are having a lot of issues with right now and have had a lot of issues with over the years. If they would then sell, spend a couple years in the championship, and then build back up. But honestly, they can't go down because they're building a brand new stadium. You're gonna have a half-built stadium in the championship? Like, it's just a mess right now at Everton, to be honest. I don't know what to make of it other than it is an absolute mess.
Yeah, all I know is at the end of the day, the losers are the fans for both of these clubs. These are not what they have done historically. Like you mentioned, Everton, they aren't supposed to be a team that gets relegated. That's just not who they are and their nature, and it'll be definitely sad to see them go down. But like we just said, Aston Villa, they've done it. They've been relegated. They might need to be one of those clubs that gets sent down, gets their act together, comes back, and rebuilds to what they have been in the past. Well, around the world, we had some results. Barcelona, they beat Real Madrid in the Spanish Super Cup 3-1. That actually took place in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. Ironically, Gavi, Lewandowski, and Pedri all scoring. Lewandowski also getting an assist on the day. Benzema getting a consolation goal in the 93rd minute. Barca still, they sit top of the La Liga with a 3-point buffer from Real Madrid. So this one might be kind of a litmus test of how things might turn out the rest of the season in La Liga. And most teams are back to training this week, so preseason games are around the corner, happening as early as this weekend. And in Italy, the same thing. They actually had their Italian Supercoppa in the same stadium as the Spanish one, and Inter Milan beat AC Milan to take the Italian Supercoppa on this one. But Brandon and Steven, our U.S. men's national team, they had their January camp. Some new names, including our old Atlanta United fan favorites, Julian Gressler and Brendan Vasquez, finally get some well-earned U.S. men's national team call-ups. But still, as far as the front of a coach search goes, no announcements regarding Greg Berhalter or anyone new to come into camp. We still just have the temporary head coach on this one, guys. So things are going to be interesting. We'll see who comes out on January 25th and January 28th as we play Serbia and Colombia. It will be interesting. But I think one thing you want to touch on, Brandon, was some controversy in the FA regarding ex-Crawley Town boss John Yems. A bit of a strange thing brewing over there, and pretty ugly one, you have to say.
Yeah, and I hadn't seen this story until this morning, to be honest. Yeah, so the FA has revealed a string of offensive racial remarks by ex-Crawley Town boss John Yems, I think is how you pronounce it. But after their investigation, still concluded that the former Crawley manager is, quote, not a conscious racist. Now, if I were to read any of the quotes that were in this report on this podcast right now,
oh my god,
we would be canceled, and we don't even have 100 subscribers. So, yeah, I would probably lose my job. So anywho, it's an absolute joke that this was the decision by the FA. I don't know how they even came to this. And the FA is a joke. The FA also overlooks the Premier League and the Premier League rules. We talked about the offside thing earlier. They're just an absolute shambles. VAR sucks. The FA is a absolute mess. But I don't want to end there, this section there. I know we're going to get into our bets for a second. But a funny thing happened in Italy this week. January 16th, I forget, I don't know how to pronounce it. Salernitana. Yeah. Oh, God, my Italian accent's awful.
Salernitana.
They decide to sack their manager, David Nicola, after an 8-2 loss against Atalanta. Atalanta's a good team, by the way. But that's an awful loss. On January 18th, after bad replacement options, they have a change of heart. And they rehire the same manager 2 days later.
Wow.
So if you think things are being run bad at your company, in your house, all of that, just think about people that have millions of dollars and all the time in the world to make decisions on managers and whatnot and still getting it wrong. I think you're doing okay in your life, and I think we can get into the bets now.
Wow. A bad breakup.
That's hilarious.
Just couldn't stay away for more than 2 days. Hey, we've all been
so
there.
funny.
You know, your ex goes, and you think, man, I want them back. And then it works out. Maybe it will. Maybe it won't. They might regret bringing him back for the last time. Well, You Betcha is back. And again, this goes without saying, we're just amateur bettors. There's no way is this betting advice. But this is something fun. We want to give our locks for the week. Steven, beginning with you, your locks for this week is...
Oh, yeah. Just real quick, my bet was the only one last week that hit. Manchester United to win. No worries. But yes, my lock this week is Chelsea against Liverpool. We've talked a lot about these clubs this episode on the podcast. Liverpool is favored in this matchup. The odds are minus 115 for Liverpool, over Chelsea being at plus 310. Those are great odds. These teams are level on points. Liverpool just won against Wolverhampton, but again, like we've talked about repeatedly, lost bad against Brighton. This game is going to be at Anfield. But like Brandon said, just like I said, Chelsea's a very good bad team. I think Chelsea is... I like Chelsea to win this game. I like the money on this game. plus 310 are some wild odds for a team that is level on points. So my money is on Chelsea. You can lock it in.
Brandon, who are your locks for the week?
I don't really like betting on my team, but I saw this money line and I said, what in the world is going on here? Aston Villa are favorites against Southampton, but they're plus 150. Yeah, that's an easy bet. Southampton currently sit at the bottom of the table.
Last.
Seems like an easy lock for me. Villa money line.
Fair enough. Well, I will bet on my own team going in this one because I have some confidence, especially a recent run of results against this opponent, Manchester City. Tottenham had this plus 700 odds for a win. I'm not going to go that far, but I am going to settle at the plus 450 for a draw between the two clubs. I mentioned it earlier. Both teams honestly just need a point, and why not share them this week? I'm totally cool with that. I'm going to lock in a draw, probably a 2-2 result for Tottenham against Manchester City. And that one is pretty much how things are going to end today on the supporter section. We have our bets in. We've talked about all the big transfer moves. We've talked about the latest in the Premier League and abroad. Maybe you want to just had a breakup with your ex. Well, maybe you only need 2 days to get back with them, just like the Italian manager. Everything can happen, and we will be continuously watching and keeping track of it at the supporter section. Make sure to tune into episode 54 in the coming week. Like and subscribe if you have not already. I have been Cole Carter. They have been Steven Curl and Brandon Patesnick, and this is the supporter section. We'll see you guys next time. Until then, peace out and enjoy some soccer. See ya.